Good evening and a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us here on this Cro Soccer Show. It's episode 27 of our inaugural season. Good evening. My name's Tonci and very good evening to Josip Zilic. Good evening, Josip. How are you?
Good evening, Tonci, and good evening, viewers. I'm doing really well, thank you, mate. Enjoying the fact that it's hump day after a bit of an arduous day at work. So this is the beauty of the Wednesday, mate. We get to talk about our beautiful community and all our clubs.
And what a show it is going to be tonight. We're going to get straight into the contents of tonight's show. It's going to be a ripper. It is going to be a ripper. Where you're up on the Gold Coast, I'm down here in Victoria, and we're going to bring South Australia into the equation as well, mate. We've got a great show tonight. Tell us about tonight's show and who's going to be appearing on the show tonight.
Well, on the back of Adelaide Croatia's beautiful big event, the 70th anniversary they celebrated on the weekend, we've got none other than Max JURKOVIC, the son of the legendary Ivi Jurkovic Pokojni. He's also taken up a lot of correspondence and historian type of role at the club, where he's accumulating all the facts and figures so people can keep a good record of the club for what we hope is 70 or even more years to come from Adelaide, Croatia. So that's going to be a great conversation to dive into how Maxi went about accumulating that information and then sharing it out in that wonderful article he did in the Hrvatski Vjesnik.
Yeah, now speaking to Maxi off air, he's got some really interesting stories, probably stories that not many people know about. We're going to delve into the history of Adelaide Croatia, or Raiders as they're sort of widely known, but to us they are always Adelaide Croatia, and a club that's 70 years old, the oldest Australian Croatian soccer club. Josip will also be taking a comprehensive look, as we do every week, with everything that is going on all around Australia. There's some big matches coming up, let me tell you. We'll be talking about matches,
some big events, some reminders for people about Tonci.
Getting closer and closer.
And we'll also culminate that with a reminder about a special prize for people to get ready for in next week's program. So we're looking forward to all of that, mate. It'll be fantastic.
Prize giveaways. There's some. If you're planning on becoming a Croatian citizen, there's some very, very valuable information from one of our business advertisers tonight, Pleme app. We'll find out about that a little bit later on. We'll also have the Croatian roundup. Big news overnight from Croatia. Dinamo Zagreb progressing through to the next round of the European Champions League. Hajduk split tomorrow morning in the wee hours of tomorrow morning. They will come up against in the return leg. Yeah, yes. So and exactly Zrinski as well. There's going to be lots to talk about, and we're also going to. Well, we're going to play a very, very, we've already said it, they are our favourite team in the Croatian second division, Cibalia Vinkovci. They have just released their new kits, and the way they've done it, basically with a video clip to boot, it's very awesome. We'll both just say how catchy it is, and I can't wait to play it.
It's catchy, and it hits the right spot in your heart too. Like you think about when you watch this clip, when people watch it, they haven't seen it before. We'll show it later on, but it really does. It strikes the right chord.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be covering all that and a lot more. So folks, buckle up, get ready for a huge show. I wouldn't be surprised if tonight goes over the regulation 90 minutes. It's going to be a massive show. Do strap yourselves in, and we will be back with the Croatia Part 1 straight after this break. Don't go away. It's the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show, straight to the news desk and the Australian Croatian roundup. Josip, where are we going to start tonight?
Before I jump into WA and start our newsreel, mate, a quick score update. Gold Coast Knights is playing at the moment, 43rd minute, 2-1 up against Brisbane City at CTM Stadium in Brisbane. Both goals to Maxi Brown. So keep going, Knights. Okay, over to WA, mate. Over the Nulla Ball, and let's talk about Gwillop. Now, Gwillop men's team. I'm stood to be corrected here, Tonci. 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that it's probably the nail in the coffin for Gwillop, that the season's done, but only one team drops from NPL WA.
Oh, how good is that?
Yeah, so what they've done is score themselves a 2-2 draw against mid-table Armidale, and it's taken them a step away from relegation. So I'm delighted that I'm being corrected on this, because it's great news to see them stay up. So come on, Gwillop. They face another mid-table team in Perth Soccer Club this week. So if they can do it against Armidale, they can do it as well against Perth. So keep the points coming in. Doesn't matter whether it's 1, 2, 1, 3. Just make sure you're getting more than bell cutter and slip away from them. The women's team at Gwillop too, mate. They had a indoor soccer result at their game against Subiaco, going down 6-4 last week, and this week take on North Beach. So let's hope they can improve on that. Over at Western Knights, I will take mention there. There's a gala dinner coming up at Gwillop, Croatia on the 20th of August. So just not this coming, but the following weekend. And they're having a Hollywood glamour theme.
So what does that mean?
Yes. We don't know, but I'm sure they'll come out in style, as we've seen the crew in WA do it already this year at Western Knights when they had the Bila Norch. So we know that they can style themselves up. So get your tickets there by contacting Laura Denona, and we'll get on the social media pages and get yourselves in early before tickets run out.
Now we'll leave that up there. Sorry, I was going to say we'll leave that up there. So you've got the number there while we talk about Western Knights, Josip. So moving along to Western Knights.
Yeah. Western Knights, so they take on Rockingham City this week. They had a 2-1 win over Freo, a bit of a hard slog, but they got there in the end. They're holding on second spot. They're 6 points behind Olympic with, I think, 5 games to go. So it's still possible that they can get that top spot. If they do go top spot, they are entitled to, as long as WA Football West credits them with the right criteria, they are entitled to get promoted to the NPL if they do take it out. So good luck to Western Knights. Over to South Australia, and will be our primary focus later on. But we will probably talk a little bit more about this with Maxi, about the club's results and where they're heading as well. And from a fan's perspective, and someone like himself who's been around there his whole life, they did celebrate their 70th anniversary in style with a 3-0 thumping over University and securing themselves a final spot for the playoffs. Then they continued their celebrations with the broader Croatian community later on that night. So it was good to see, and we had some footage from that as well over the social media pages on the weekend. Delightful to see, mate. Adelaide Croatia women, though, they had one to forget, a 10-0 loss to Seymour, and they have a round off this week. Probably time to lick their wounds and just compose themselves again ahead of the following week. Adelaide Vukovic, the 4A's going down 4-2 and 4B's going down 4-0. We'll jump across over to the Apple Isle, mate. Glenorchy Knights, both men and women, didn't have a round last week, but they're preparing themselves to get back and get up and going again. 4th place Glenorchy Knights men's team. They take on 2nd place South Hobart away, and a win will send them back into 2nd spot. I believe the gap between 2nd and 1st is too far for them to abridge with 4 rounds to go with 9 points. I just think Devonport doesn't look like they're going to drop any points. But look, they get themselves in there and secure themselves a final spot, and they can get into that NPL championship that they all covered to get as well. The women's team, they're preparing themselves. They're 2nd place at the minute, and they're taking on 5th place Newtown Eagles. We'll head ourselves over to the nation's capital, mate, O'Connor Knights. The men's matches, and women's matches, they were all postponed on the weekend. Ground conditions was the
wet weather.
Wet weather.
Yeah, it's moving south now. It's going down south.
Look, there were photos plastered around, but then Canberra, Croatia had a round anyway. But anyway, O'Connor Knights, they had them. They're 4th place at the minute, and they're going to be away to 5th place Cooma Tigers on the weekend. So good luck there, guys. And the women's team, they're away to Woden Valley. Canberra, Croatia, though, they managed to get their game underway. Conditions must have been suitable for them. And they had a convincing 5-0 win over Wagga. Not the 12-0 that I predicted from the first time around. But anyway, look, it's still a shellacking in anyone's language. Their hot form continues this week away to Tuggeranong. The team, they had a massive win too, 7-0 over the Tigers. The leaders take on Monero Panthers at home on Sunday. They are 8 points clear with 5 to go. So the signs are there, mate, for a championship season. Yeah,
all
Tonci,
right, we're
the halfway mark for our wrap.
Yeah, we're gonna take a little bit of a break now after that result. Where are we now? Don't go away, folks. We'll be back with the second part. Welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show. We've got that many slides this week. It's just incredible how many slides we've got, graphic slides. We're just trying to find it. I think there's about 50 slides this week. I kid you not. It's a record breaker this week. Now, we were talking about the Canberra Croatia scene. Now, there's also of the talented juniors, both at the O'Connor Knights and Canberra Croatia, that have made it to representative teams. Let's quickly look at that before we go any further. But that's fantastic. If we look at the under 14 girls,
there's a swag of them there, mate. There's I think I counted 8 with the girls, under 14 girls. Under 14 boys has got a large contingent from Canberra, Croatia there, as you can see. It's probably about 11 or so there. But under 15 boys, you also got the Liam Swan from O'Connor Knights jumping in as well. So between the two Croatian clubs, they've got representation at the national level, and they're all going to be going off to the national championships in the September-October holidays. And they take that up in Coffs Harbour, and that's the aspiration and pathway for young players in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great to see Canberra boys and girls doing the two clubs very well there. So well done to them. Let's move on to Victoria, our home state. Lots happening there. We've got some big games coming up. But let's start off first of all, maybe with the Gorse Bears, huh?
Sure, yeah. Look, Gorse Bears Div 2 Metro side. No result posted in last week's game. I'm not sure if there was no announcement, so I don't know if it was postponed for any reason. But they're in 4th place, and the Bears take on Hume United this week at home. The Masters team had a solid 2-0 win over Point Cook, and the 2nd place Gorse take on Albion on Friday night at home. So good luck, Bears. Strathmore, look, they're in for an interesting battle over the next couple of weeks.
Wow.
They had one of their catch-up games last week on Friday. 2-0 loss to the eventual champions, Georgies. And Georgies get themselves promoted to NPL. But in second last place, Strathmore, equal points with Clifton Hill, but with a better goal difference. And they're just looking to grab any points they can just to steer away from Clifton Hill. And lo and behold, who are they facing this weekend? Clifton
Hill. What? This is the game of the season, without a doubt.
For them,
yeah. Both on 12 points.
Home.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is a cutthroat game. You know what? I love the term. I'm saying the 6-pointer. This is a 12-pointer. All you Splitchunny, all you Split fans, get out there in massive numbers. The Croatians in Melbourne, wherever you may be, get out there in huge numbers, support the boys. This is a do-or-die game as far as I'm concerned. Only one team gets relegated in State League 1, Victoria State League 1, just like in Western Australia. So if the Splitchunny, they've got a better goal difference as well too.
Yeah.
This will be a big thing, big result. If they can get through, this will be. Now, the bad thing is the next few days here in Victoria, it looks like it's going to be wet. and Strathnaver Reserve at the moment has been very, very boggy. And I'm told the game between the George Cross and Strathmore split, that was on knife's edge whether that was going to proceed because it's very boggy down Strathnaver Reserve. So let's hope that this doesn't get water washed out or whatever, because it is a very, very, it's a crucial game basically. And I think they have to catch up game in Sydenham Park, like second, third. So they've got a tough climax to the season, to the end of the season. But Miki Cholina's men, like they know that this is do or die. So we wish them all the very best for this Saturday, Josip.
Yeah, big game for them, mate. I'm sure they can come good, mate. But the women's team, they had no match last week, and this week the 7th place split host top team Faulkner at home. The Metro 2 side at Strathmore, they had a 5-2 loss to Newmarket, and this week take on Newport. And the Masters, 3-0 win over Laylaw. The 2nd place split take on top of the table Juve in a Friday night thriller. So I look forward to Ante Dragovic giving me a message on Saturday morning to tell me all about the sexy football.
Yeah. Splitch only have already started planning for next year, so they've already seeking expressions of interest for their 2023 junior program, non-gamers, mini-roos, junior leagues, and girls teams as well. If you are interested, if you'd like your child to start playing soccer with lovely, lovely Croatian club with some very good folk there, contact Marta there on 0417 317 906. Now, we talk about really, really important games. North Geelong has got a very, very important game coming up this week as well. Let's talk about that.
Win this and they're promoted. That's the simple mathematics, right? It's last week they both had a week off, so time to refresh. The table-topping Warriors with a 2-point gap on Moreland City take on Bulleen at home. It has to be a win. I don't think any other result will suffice. Look, if it is a draw, it just makes things incredibly difficult and more congested than what they already are. With Moreland breathing down their throat, and they got Moreland the week after in the final game of the year. So, look, and to top it off, Moreland play 3rd place Pasco on Friday night. So, you don't know who you want to win or lose there.
I reckon a draw would probably be the best outcome, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you think that? If they both then drop points.
The Moreland Pasco game, a draw would be great, and a win for North, that would just really, put it to rest, and you can go into the final round with and breathe.
Miran, as they say, Mirne duše. Yeah. So North Geelong, Alco Park, 3 p.m. on Saturday. Folks, make sure to come out in big numbers as much as you can. By that stage, North will already know the outcome of the previous night's game, and they'll know where they stand. But as you said, Josip, simple. Equation simple. Win. Basically win.
Just win.
Yep.
And the women's team, they take on 3rd place Spring Hills. A win will push North Geelong into 3rd place themselves. So good luck, girls. Dandy City, they had a bye last week in their catch-up round. The men have an unbelievable task ahead of them. They're going to Lakeside to take on top of the table South Melbourne.
Yep.
Their battle to avoid the drop is well and truly lit. Hume take on Dandy Thunder. Now, Dandy Thunder must win to keep their final streams alive. So you've got a team. You got second last playing top, and top need to win to secure the championship. Second last need to win to jump out of relegation. You got third last taken on 6th, who have to secure a win to get themselves into finals, and third last have to try and avoid the loss to not drop in the relegation. So it is an unbelievable round of football.
It's incredible. I can't see anyone throwing a match there. No chance. No way.
No way. No chance.
No way. No chance.
Tonci versus the Albanci. Hrvati protiv Grci. It's going to be on.
What a rivalry round, is it? Oh, well. But if Dandenong City, we keep saying this, if Dandenong City can survive in this cutthroat battle for survival in the NPL, North Geelong can get promoted for the first time ever. We will have 4 Croatian-backed clubs in the top tier of Victorian state football. Not too bad. The Goodisy have got 5. There are 5 Greek clubs, and we could have 4. That will be an unbelievable achievement for a community the size of ours compared to the Greek community. And look, the significant communities that even have only 1 or none representatives in the top tier. That's amazing. So we kind of look at the year that has been and look back at it and we think, Dandenong haven't done too well, Melbourne Knights haven't done too well, St Albans haven't done too well. Nonetheless, though, to have 3 clubs playing in the top tier and all, relatively being competitive, mate, that's svaka čast, as they say, isn't it?
Yeah, that's. I don't know how my emotions will be if North do get promoted. Every time they have in my lifetime at North managed some sort of championship, it's really pushed my emotions to the limit because you're heavily invested. You're heavily invested, and you know exactly how much work people need to do to get that to the line. It's not just about that coach and that group of 20 players or 22 players that together. When you've been involved in the levels that myself and yourself have, Tonci, you just know the emotional roller coaster that puts you on the knife's edge.
Absolutely. Now, Dandenong City, as we said, they've got the unenviable task of attacking South Melbourne. Have we spoken about their women?
The women's team have got a big game. They'll take on Glen Ira at home. So that will be a very hard challenge for them. So we'll wish them all the best.
And then across town at St Albans, yes, let's talk about them.
Now, look, they've made life difficult for themselves here, don't you? Last week, in the catch-up game, leading 1-0, seemingly comfortable for a large portion of that match at 1-0. Failed to convert some other chances and some set pieces where their dominance usually does prevail. Eastern Lions caught them on the hop, levelled out a 1-1, and now St Albans are in a position where they really need to get themselves a win.
Yeah.
A draw might be able to sort of just push them away a little bit, but the task isn't any easier. You've got the 2021 champions Oakley who are coming at them this week in a tough encounter, and Oakley want to keep winning to try and catch up to South Melbourne. So it's just going to get even more exciting this weekend. If you didn't have enough in the previous one with Dandy, here we go here with St Albans. So, guys, supporters of St Albans, get behind your club. Make sure you're picking them up and pushing them along so that they can get over the line for you. The women's team had a really important 3-0 win over Brunswick in their catch-up, and now they face Altona City away this weekend.
Melbourne Knights, what a win last week. Tell us about that.
Look, Tonci, before I go on about this, and I probably should have said this at the start of the wrap-up, but I did see some commentary about Melbourne Knights and some people lay the boots in maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago when things weren't so great. People just need to breathe and remind themselves that they have the opportunity to make a difference in a community and a club with some positive reinforcement and some support, and not just lay the boots in just because they feel like they can do it behind the keyboard.
Yeah.
I'm sure people at Melbourne Knights don't sit there and go, gee, I'm rapt that we finished 9th or 10th this year. No, their aspirations were much higher. We all know that because that's how they approach every year of their existence. So just take it easy. Either stand up, and if you're going to stand by, keep your comments, especially the negative ones, keep them to yourself. You've got choices. Be grateful for what we have, because in the blink of an eye, it could be gone. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
On to brighter news, though, mate. On to brighter news.
Let's talk about that.
A terrific performance by the Knights in their catch-up game. A solid 2-0 win over Green Gully. This week coming up is their last home game, so let's make sure we get the people out there on Friday night. Get your dinner there at the club rooms. Get in the stands and be loud and proud. Support your club for a positive send-off for 2022 as they face Altona Magic. And even better, right, what a way to wrap up the year. If they can get another win, and the news about Luka Korlic getting picked up in the young soccer.
Yeah, how good is that?
How fantastic is that? Look, well done, Melbourne Knights. Well done, Luka, as well, for your endeavours and your skills. But, here's a club, again, doing the right thing for the young players and putting them in the right spot for them to be able to attain those, goals and dreams that they've been searching for.
Yeah, that is brilliant news, and well done to Luka Korlic
and the women's team at Melbourne Knights. women's team, they're away to Melbourne Uni, and they'll see the season out in third last, and they can start preparing themselves for their tourney trip. Vukovar in first place, drew with pegs 2-2 this week against Port Phillip. NK Bunker, fourth place, had a bye, and they'll face Satellite City this week. Let's go to New South Wales, Tonci. Sydney United, what a week they're having, mate. First of all, they beat Monero 3-0. They advanced to the round of 16, and who are they taking on? The current A-League champions, Western United. At home, at King Tom, at Denzel Park, Sunday, traditional time for the Sydney Siders at 2 o'clock. This will be fantastic. I know that Sydney United, everyone's going to say, oh, well, even if they do put up a fight, the A-League, you expect the A-League team to come over the top of them, especially at the round of 16 stage. But you know what? They're playing on Sydney United's plastic pitch. Now, we know that Western United don't play on that sort of stuff too often.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where Sydney United can come up with their own tactics and own strategy about how they're going to overcome their opponents. Even if they can hold out for an extra time or penalties, hey, anything can happen in that period of time, right? We've all seen it. So, look, they got that on their hands. That's coming up on Sunday. The weekend just gone by, they had a 2-1 loss in the Waratah Cup final. I'm sure they would have been down on a couple of players after that midweek game. But now they've got a full deck to work with, and Joe Chaletta and Mira Vlastelica will be ready for them for the Sunday afternoon game, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we go. Again, this Sunday, August the 14th, at the Sydney United Sports Centre. It's like the days of old. Straight after Missa, get down to the club for lunch, an early lunch, and then, you're there. Kickoff is 2 p.m. Folks, if you're in the greater Sydney area, Newcastle, Wollongong, even out as far as the ACT is concerned, come along to this game. Sydney, Croatia, taking on Western United. No doubt Western United will have a strong Croatian flavour. Steven Luštica and Noah Botic both scored in a midweek friendly last night down in Melbourne. They took on Bulleen, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, defeated them 3-0. Was it Bulleen or was it someone else? I can't remember. It was insignificant. It's not important. Yeah. The most important thing is that Sydney, Croatia on Sunday attracts a bigger crowd than they did, and that was a great crowd too against Naro Panthers.
And look, Sydney United is another club. Yep, sorry, mate.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say Sydney United is another club doing well with their youngsters. Goran Palacek has signed for the Hana L2 at Orient Rijeka this week. So if you look at a club like Sydney United, and congratulations to Goran there. Look at a club like Sydney United this year, Tonci alone. We've talked to Nicholas Bilokovic. We've heard about Nicholas Zdrilic.
Yep.
The players that are coming out of Sydney United, they're obviously being groomed for these opportunities. So whatever they're doing, keep going.
Remember, we also spoke to the Spider, the Spider, the Pauk, Željko Kalac, who has been reinstated in his role with
Urania's very own
down in Voda. And he was also mentioning how his son Oliver was last year in Zagreb at Trešnjevka, which is a third division side. Then, obviously, with the restructuring now, that's probably gone to fourth division. But he was also there getting a gig there playing senior football. I think his kid's only about 17 or something like that. So lots of Sydney, Croatia, Sydney United products as well. So great to see there. It's awesome. Let's move on to Hurstville now. Hurstville, Zagreb. Speaking of Zagreb,
senior group is their matches are done because it was their bye round, but they're preparing for a huge tourney. As we know, Tonci, 8 teams being entered here by the club, so well done there. They've got a huge fundraiser coming their way, a big golf day for members and players to all socialise with each other on the 23rd of September. And they've also got some groovy tourney merch, pre-tourney merch being released this week. There's some nice T-shirts, long-sleeve T-shirts, wind cheaters. They look very stylish, really, with their classical Hurstville Zagreb logo on them there too. So get onto the social media pages and order yourself a T-shirt or two. I know I like the look of the black T-shirt in the middle there, Tonci. I think I'll have to get myself one of those.
I love the way you incorporated I love the way you incorporated the word groovy into all of that. I thought that was one
Oh
of
yeah,
those words that just has sort of lost its traction in the modern day vernacular. But groovy,
you and
I
I are
love it.
past
I
the
love
half
it.
century mark, mate.
Yeah, we have, we have. We'll have to ask Maxi. Maxi's a little bit younger. When he comes on later in the show, is groovy still a term used by the generation of today? But I digress. Let's talk about something a little bit more
No worries.
important than that.
Look, it's in the meantime, their juniors are still going out and about, and great results coming for their girls team in particular. They're performing well. Under 14s, coached by Dean Chulina, they're through to the final. Likewise, the under 16s and under 12s teams too. Great to see the club as a whole performing so well. So good luck to you all in your finals this weekend. South Coast United, Wollongong, Croatia, their form's returning at the right time with a handy 2-1 win over Bellambi. They've now elevated themselves into ninth spot. So this week they take on Winona, who are in 11th. So it's good to see them rising up, but they need to keep winning because the bottom of the table is very congested. I don't know if you had that slide there, Tonci, on South Coast.
I did, but I don't know. I've lost it. I had that many slides. Like I said, over 50 slides this week, folks. So my apologies. Let's move on to Newcastle.
Newcastle, the Div 3 team keep doing what the Div 3 team does, and that's winning. 4-0 win over Azuri, giving themselves a bigger buffer now at the top of the ladder. I saw some of the video footage of giving them sticks, so good to see the rivalry still there against Hamilton. Tomorrow they've got a catch-up game against Cardiff at home. Hopefully the pitch is all clear. Zivko, give us a thumbs up if it is or not. And the all-age team, they had a rare loss going down 2-1 to University. Quick mention here is there's a Croatian Tulum party happening at Think Cafe and Bar coming up later in the year. So get onto the social media pages at Newcastle, Croatia, and the details will be there for you. Special guest will be Prva Liga's very own Steve Tivanovac with the squeeze box specialist. So, good stuff there happening in Newcastle. Over in Willoughby, Dalmatia, they take on Lane Cove this week, sitting on top by goal difference. They need to keep winning and keep their form going if they want to take it out. A little bit of Tawny news. Tonci, King Tom have posted that they want their volunteers to start registering to make sure that they've got their right shifts and right allocations. So get onto the social media pages. If you haven't already registered, it's even more important that you do so. One of the things I've always enjoyed, Tonci, and I did this in the last few years that I've been at the tourney. I won't be able to unfortunately be there this year due to a trip. But one of the things I've done, and one of the endearing memories I have is two different shifts. Is at Melbourne, Croatia in 2013, and at Adelaide a couple of times. Just jumping behind the bar and helping out the host.
Yep.
That's the way I've looked at it. So it doesn't have to be just the Sydney people that are going to roll their sleeves up. If you feel like you'd like to do a 2, 3, 4 hour shift, I'm sure Bella and Dinko would be delighted to hear from you. And that's a great way to meet your community from Australia. You get in there and someone will just say, come here, pour beers for 2 hours and you have a chinwag with people, get to know the community a bit better. And you know what? When you travel again to the next tourney, you know what happens, Tonci? Your brothers
catch up with those same people.
You're all united again, mate. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now, we've also got some Gold Coast news as well, so let's not forget Gold Coast.
Speaking of Gold Coast, 54th minute, still up 2-1 against Brisbane City.
And they drew 2-2 against Gold Coast United, the big Gold Coast derby. Now, mate, is this a big derby? Is it a real big rivalry when these two teams meet? Is the crowd that little bit bigger? Do we know much about Gold Coast United? We know they didn't have much of a support base in the A-League. Do they have much of a support base in the NPL?
The general public come out for this game. They do. And probably more so when it was at the Croatian Sports Centre in the first edition of the derby. A little less so this time around. I think, look, at Complex Reserve, it's not as viewer-friendly or as hospitable, should I say. So, look, it's still quite recognised locally and gets reasonably good coverage too in the local paper as well. But look, disappointing 2-2 draw. I think they didn't really come out with their guns firing and got caught on a hop a couple of times. But look, 2-2 draw. It's a run of 3 draws, and at the moment they're battling away on a 2-1 lead against Brisbane City, and it's a bit patchy too. They jumped away early, but Brisbane City's coming back into the game. Hopefully they can hold out or even extend that lead. So yeah. Look, if they can do this, they'll jump up into 3rd spot, and they've still got a couple of games up their sleeve. They might even sneak into 2nd position. But I think Queensland Lions are definitely going to be wrapped up as champions.
Okay, the president there, Adrian Pulic, he's hosting a president's lunch, and it's going to be held this Sunday. Tell us more about this.
So what member packages include when you sign up for Gold Coast Knights as a member is there's a couple of president's luncheons, and this particular round is all the juniors at NPL will be playing earlier on. And then it's the senior groups in the afternoon. So you get a chance to come and have lunch, listen to Adrian and the current progress of the club and where they're heading and what they're up to. And there'll also be a bit of entertainment and a bit of music. So in true Croatian style, a bit of fun and festa, yeah?
Absolutely. And last but certainly not
least...
on
Olympic, by the way.
Yeah. And last but not Brisbane Knights over the weekend, They all mixed bag of results, a couple of wins and a couple of losses. Tell us a bit more about that.
Look, the win over Ipswich, 6th place Knights, if they, it's really good for them. What will happen is this weekend when they take on, I think it's North Star, if I remember correctly, they'll be able to jump in the 3rd spot with another win. So they've managed to really congest that top 6 area with the points. The women's team, unfortunately, had a bit of a slide last week. They went down 2-1 to Holland Park, but they're still holding tight in 2nd position there.
Awesome. And that brings us to the end of the Oz Cro Roundup. We've still got a lot to get through tonight. We're going to take a very, very short break. When we do return, we're going to whiz through the Croatian news. There's a lot happening there. We're also going to play an awesome, awesome video clip from an awesome, awesome club in the Croatian 2nd Division. Hold your horses on for that one. That's going to be a good one. It's the Oz Cro Soccer Show, folks, episode 27. Don't go away. We'll be back right away. Welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show. They're very short and sharp, those Pleme app. They almost catch you by surprise. They're finished and there it is. But Pleme, for those that are not in the know, is a new social media platform, if you like, created just for Croatians around the world. And they've got a new I won't say scheme. They've got a new app that's available for anyone that'll help anyone who wants to become a Croatian citizen. In effect, it's actually pretty much a checklist. So we hope to have the founder and the creator of Pleme, Nicholas Kraljevic, on in the next few weeks. He has promised to take some time out of his busy schedule and come on the show and explain a little bit more about that. But with a lot of young footballers going over, or potential footballers going over to Croatia, Josip, becoming a Croatian citizen opens the door to EU citizenship as well. And you never know where that can lead you. And especially for all of us who are blessed to have, Croatian ancestry, Croatian background, for us to be able to get Croatian citizenship. It's a privilege, it's an honour, and it's certainly doable, put it that way, in the current scheme of things. So talking about Croatia, one of the clubs that are truly doing us proud on the European stage, and there's been a lot of in Croatian sports circles, soccer circles, a lot of pushing that, we're all big rivals when it comes to the HNL. We're all big rivals when it comes to the league matches. But you know what? In the midweek, when it's either the UEFA Champions League or the Conference League, we drop everything and we become very patriotic and we support whoever it is. Because ultimately, what's good for one club is going to be good for Croatian football. And Dinamo Zagreb overnight, wow, fantastic, fantastic result, 4-2. So they ended up defeating Bulgarian champions Ludogorets 6-3 on aggregate. Now, Josip Drmic scored after the 13th minute. Mislav Oršić scored in the 27th minute a penalty in the 44th minute. Bruno Petkovic scored in the 87th minute. But and there were 3 red cards eventually given to Ludogorets. So this is going to be really, really interesting. Look, it was towards the end of the competition. But look, this is an interesting statistic that as a result of Dinamo doing well with 2 wins in the last week, Hajduk Split, we'll get onto that a little bit later on. But after Rijeka and Osijek were eliminated from European competition, Josip, Croatia found itself on the list of European nations in 54th place. There's only one other nation that was below that. That's how poor the coefficients were, the point system and how it works. After Dinamo's 2 wins and Hajduk's win, and Hajduk is playing again tomorrow, they've risen up to 36th spot. So obviously those minor leagues, there's not much between them. But getting these points is important because the following year it means we may have an extra representative or one less representative
in
the qualifiers. Yeah, so it's really important for that. Now, Dinamo is guaranteed a group spot or group phase spot in the Europa League, regardless of whether they can win or lose to the next opponent, and that is Norway's Bordeaux Glimt or something like that. So if they win, they move to the next qualifying round of the European Champions League. If they lose, then they drop down to the Conference League where Hajduk Split is. Now, we'll bring that up now. Hajduk Split tomorrow morning. It's at 2 a.m. What a ridiculous hour. So there'll be some very, very tired people tomorrow morning, yours truly included. First leg was an incredible 3-1 win over a come-from-behind win. Josip, you've got an interesting anecdote about this that was once told to you by Josip Skorko.
So, Evan worked with Josip over the years at North Geelong. He used to say, if you come from behind at Poljud and you score 1, you'll score 3. And lo and behold, it happened. And we were messaging each other during this game, and he goes, told you. So, yeah, there you go. It's a bit of a fable.
Yeah. Now, there were 13,000 fans at the Maksimir Stadium. Now, this is an interesting banner that the Bad Blue Boys came out with. Za Dinamo je samo ovdje sveta nedjelja. For Dinamo, only here is, well, translated, it will be, say, Holy Sunday. But the reality is, what that means is Sveta Nedjelja is a small town on the outskirts of Zagreb, a satellite town. And it is actually known for several things. One, it's the headquarters of Rimac Automobiles. So everyone knows Rimac Automobiles. And there's a few Australian Croatians that work for Rimac Automobiles as well. Big shout out to Mario and a few others there as well. But it's apparently one of the richest municipalities in the Zagreb County, but also Croatia in general. So these guys have a business sense. And they are thinking, if we can attract Dinamo Zagreb and their main stadium over to Sveta Nedjelja, that would be pretty good. That would be pretty fantastic. The only problem is it's about 16 odd kilometres away from Zagreb. Now, that doesn't seem very far in Australian terms, does it? 16 kilometres, that would be similar.
Yeah, but look, car ownership in Croatia isn't like as common as it is here, mate. Yeah,
we want to catch the tram or we want to walk there. We don't want to go. Get a bus or train or plane to the next suburb, city, whatever.
And go to Kalkicheva after for a coffee. So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's too far. I get it. I do understand it. But yeah, apparently, some city officials from Sveta Nedjelja came to talk to Dinamo Zagreb, and that's been sort of leaked out that they're talking about the possibilities. The sad reality here is that the Zagreb City Council, the Zagreb, authorities, they cannot see fit that they should build a world-class soccer stadium. When you look at some of the stadiums that Dinamo and Hajduk are going, Osijek, they went to Kazakhstan, played in an unbelievable stadium. It's embarrassing that the best that we've got to offer in our capital city is the Maksimir, which looks like, it's shocking. It's bad.
It looks like it needs to be bulldozed.
Yeah. Exactly right. So that's the Bad Blue Boys had a very, very interesting thing to say. Now, let's go on to some of the results that are happening at the moment. If we can find the results of the last
Don't
competition.
forget, Zrinski's taken on the Zrinski's also got their Conference League game on as well against Tobol.
That's on tomorrow. Is that tomorrow or is that to Friday morning? I think it is.
That'd be Friday. Sorry, correct. Friday morning.
Could be.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, last weekend, Shibani, these are the fixtures. Oh, I've jumped something a little bit too quickly. Let's go, first of all, to the results. What's going on? I haven't got the results there, unfortunately, for whatever reason. Let's quickly look at the ladder. And I am having a nightmare this week with all of these.
Well, you did get that, Tonci. We know that Dinamo Zagreb sitting on top in 10 points. They played the 4 games. In second position currently is Hajduk Split. Is only played 2 games, but had two wins from 2 starts. So, and in third position, also on 6 points after 4 games, is Lokomotiva, who sort of rounds out the top 3 there. What's interesting here this weekend is with the big derby coming up with Dinamo Zagreb and Hajduk on Sunday morning at 5:05. Very friendly hours for us all to get up, and people from one quarter or the other. If you're like me, you don't go for either, but the vast majority will have their favourites, and I'm sure the social media pages will be filled with all sorts of comment and banter.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. There are the games coming up this weekend. The wee hours of Saturday morning, Šibenik taking on Istra. Should be an interesting game because both those teams really, really need wins. Dinamo Zagreb, as you mentioned, Hajduk Split. That's a big one. That's happening at 5 o'clock our time. 2,500 Torcidaši. So that's even more than the Cup early in the year when I think they had 2,000 tickets allocated to them. I may be wrong, but that stands that there's going to be a very, very good crowd at this game. Gorica taking on Lokomotiva Zagreb. Gorica at the moment on the bottom. They've been doing not too bad, but they haven't been doing the best either, obviously being on the bottom. But here's a winnable game. Lokomotiva seem to be invincible at home, but when they travel, different story. Osijek and Varaždin, for me, this is the big game. Osijek is in the doldrums at the moment. They really, really do need to do something.
On the ropes. Their really results,
they are absolutely on the ropes. They are really struggling, and they need to do something very, very quickly to address that. Varaždin have been doing really well. They took a point off Dinamo last time. Yeah. They beat Istra. They lost to Hajduk, but I tell you what, they put in a really, really good performance. They were absolutely sensational in many ways there. So they did very well there. But yeah, look, they do need to start picking up points as quickly as possible, and it all starts this weekend. And finally, Rijeka at home to Slaven Belupo. Once again, this is another one that will be interesting because Rijeka have also in the doldrums, 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss. They've got a game up their hand, and that's against Hajduk in Split. That's going to be a tough one as well. Slaven Belupo, they've slowly been edging their way up, and apparently Slaven Belupo have got the most meagre budget in the Croatian league. Now, how, I don't know. Koprivnica, where they are located, is the home of Podravka and Pan Laga and some of those other blue chip industries. And it's a relatively prosperous part of Croatia that they just seem to struggle with the budget, and they just are unable to buy players the way some of the other ones are able to do so. But times ahead in the Croatian league, without a doubt.
Well, now, and we also will say, Tonci, that the wonderful prize that Suzy Grilic from Hrvatski Radio Ponos is going to be kindly donating to us. Here we go. Look at those wooden boards. She does a fantastic job there. One in Dinamo, one in Torcida. All our viewers, pay attention. One of the questions next week will be based on this weekend's derby between Dinamo and Hajduk. But there will be 2 questions, and there will be a board per winner. So one of the questions
you'll have to tune in
based on this weekend's derby.
To Suzy Grlic, Croatian socialites, and Hrvatski Radio Ponos from Melbourne. That is I'll put that up again. That is a wonderful, wonderful And even look, if you're a Dinamo supporter and you may get the Torcida one, or vice versa, if you're a Hajduk supporter, you might get the Dinamo. I guess you could use it as a dartboard or something like that. You probably
Just leave the knife in there. Just leave the knife in there.
Well, look, it's a prize for everyone. It doesn't necessarily have to be polarizing, and it can only be for one certain type, whatever.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. A couple of other things. The Druga Liga, or should I say the Prva Nogometna Liga, which is the second-tier competition, kicks off this weekend. So long-awaited, revamped 12-team competition. I'm tipping this is going to be super awesome, super interesting, super awesome, because the caliber of teams, every week it's going to be a tough competition played. Dubrava take on Vukovar, the newly promoted Vukovar, and no doubt everyone's second favourite team. That happens in the wee hours of Sunday morning. Then Dugopolje, Croatia, Zmijavci, the Imoćani, and the Splićani. That's going to be the big Dalmatian derby. Bijelo Brdo from the outskirts of Osijek, and Hrvatski Dragovoljac, who is a club in freefall after being relegated from the Prva Liga. They take on each other. Orient 1919, and they might have that Australian Croatian recruit in their ranks. Who knows? They host Solin, and then it's our team, Josip Cibalia, at home to Kustošija Zagreb. That should be a good game at Cibalia's Gradski Stadium, the city stadium. And last but certainly not least, two Zagreb clubs who are really, really aiming high this year, Jarun and Rudeš. They will do battle in the Zagreb derby. So that promises to be an awesome game, that one. And before we go to Bihar and see what is happening over there, just a quick, this is an interesting, very interesting things. Fans of Zadar, NK Zadar, once upon a time, who graced the fields of the first division. The first ever international soccer tournament for under-18s, or Hrvoje Čustić tournament, the Hrvoje Čustić Cup, that will be kicking off in April of 2023. Now, that's for players under the age of 18. And Hrvoje Čustić was a professional footballer with Zadar, who unfortunately, one of the most tragic occurrences in Croatian football, lost his life when he slid into the concrete barriers at the Stanovi Stadium in Zadar. And because of that, never recovered, never woke up. And it's beautiful, great to see that Zadar is remembering him.
He's an old buddy of Subasic.
Yes, Daniel Subasic.
He used to wear the print of Hrvoje on his undergarment.
Yeah, absolutely. So his Hrvoje Čustić's memory lives on, and it's a beautiful gesture by the club. And never know. One day, hopefully, I would love to see an Australian Croatian selection go over there, like it did in the 90s when there was an Australian Croatian team that used to go to Kvarnerska Riviera. Remember those days back in the 90s? Some very, very famous players that went on to play in the National Soccer League ended up going on that tour. So, we've got some great talent, Josip, here in Australia. Love to see that in a couple of years' time happening in an Australian Croatian team get out there. Bosnia and Herzegovina, our Croatian clubs there, well, some of them are doing really well. Some of them are not doing too well. But out of the Croatian teams there, Posuge lost to Sarajevo. Sarajevo is undefeated at the moment. They lost to them 1-0, which is not a bad effort. We'll look at the tablica in a sec, but they did very well. Široki Brijeg, on the other hand, they are the league leaders, and they defeated Leotar 1-0. Some very close results there with both teams. Zrinski had the week off because of their European commitments. And Sarajevo taking on Tuzla City in a midweek catch-up round this weekend. There is some happening. Zrinski and Široki Brijeg. The big Croatian derby that has been postponed, obviously because of Zrinski's
European obligations.
European ball. Yeah, absolutely. But if we go have a look at the ladder, Josip, great to see the Croatian team at the top.
Hey, it was that same last year. Let's keep it going this year. Why not? Yeah, I think I think Široki, I'm not sure whether there was some sort of investment there or not, but look, we know last year they kind of struggled in that sort of 4th and 5th position all year, sort of swinging around that area, but they've come out firing this year.
Yeah. No, they're doing well, and let's hope that they can stay up there, undefeated after 4 games. Posushia struggling a little bit, 1 or 2 losses from their 3 games, but they do have a game in hand. And look, it's amazing. All they need is 1 win, and they'll shoot up to sort of mid-table position. Things are still very, very much early in the piece. So we'll hopefully we will see the Herceg doing very, very well. Now that pretty much brings us to the end of our Croatian roundup. But during the week, there was they released their new kits, and they look fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Certainly different to anything that we've got in the Croatian League, and it's just a play on what they used to have. But their kits do look fantastic, and to do so, they actually celebrated by re-releasing an old favourite. We're going to play that now. When we return, folks, we'll then have Max Jurkovic from Adelaide join us to talk about Adelaide Croatia. But in the meantime, folks, really enjoy this. And it doesn't go for long, 3 minutes. And we'll be back very, very shortly. We're just going to have to cut that short because, the internet is. We live in the third world. I run a couple of other podcasts during the week, and every week it's the same old story. The buffering the internet. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, go on to Tsibalia Vinkovci's Facebook page, and you'll be able to see it there. We might even be able to put the link there. But if you go onto Tsibalia Vinkovci, HNK Tsibalia Vinkovci fan page, you'll be able to see everything. And it is absolutely fantastic. It really, really is a cool. It really has got. It is a great catchy song, Josip.
It's beautiful. It's a great song. That's but also the second half of it, they do a play on the what's it called? That Liverpool song that did in the dressing room. I forgot what it's called now. Freed from Desire. That's what it is. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, awesome. Let's now talk local football again. We're going to bring on our young Max Jurkovic. It's an absolute pleasure to have him on the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Max, firstly, congratulations to everyone in the Adelaide Croatian community on the 70th Anniversary Gala Ball last week. How are you, mate, first of all, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Going well, Tonci and Josip. It was a really good night. It really paid respects to the history of the club. We had old newspaper articles, a little bit of footage, a lot of photos. We had ex-players, legends of the club, present and do a speech and what the club meant to them, and a bit of history about the glory days of the club, which was really nice. And then major minor. It's been since 2019 they haven't been here, so they really put on a show.
Well, that's been a hell of a time for them. Yeah, from what I saw on the social media coverage over the weekend, it looked like there was cause for concern for some of the security guards because there were bigger, heavier boys on the stage than there were on the security numbers.
I just had to politely remind the security guard that a few of us were part of the band and we should still be on the stage.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Everyone needs a roadie when they're on tour. But look, it's great scenes were shared, not just by the club themselves, but many who were visiting, particularly interstaters from Victoria and elsewhere who came along. There's a good photo there of some of the Melbourne and Geelong crew that come along to celebrate with you guys.
Yeah, shout out to Paul Shardic. I know he's watching. So, yeah, he was there. It was really good to see him and his wife, Tonka. A few of the boys from AHD Melbourne, it was really good to see them. So, if they're watching, shout out to them as well.
It wouldn't be a big event if Paul wasn't there, mate.
Of course.
Now, Max, you have become a bit of an Adelaide Croatia Raiders historian. That is awesome. I honestly think that every Croatian community-backed soccer club ought to have one, either an official one or an unofficial one. And you recently wrote about the club's history in the Herald, the Croatian Herald. First of all, how did you go about compiling all of that information? Did you dig it up from your own archives, or did you speak to people? There's the article in question from last week's edition. Yeah, tell us more about that.
So I've always been intrigued by the history of the club. So growing up, I was around my old man, my tata, and his mates, and they used to always talk about the glory days of the club. And a bit unfortunate, but in the last 15 years, we probably haven't been up there like we were back in the 80s. So I was always intrigued and always wanted to know what it was like. So once my tata passed away, that's when I really started wanting to find out more about his career, more about the club back then, the community and all that. So I started doing my own research. I had a great man and a former player of the club, and he's unfortunately passed away in Frane Radic. He gave me all his articles from the late 80s and early 90s, and I really treasured them. I found myself immersed in a world where I could relive history. So that's how I started becoming passionate. And then while I was at uni, I'd go to the state library, and just in my own time, I just wanted to find out, in the 50s and 60s, even 70s as well, what we were like as a club. If I could find an article or two about any of our cup final wins, I'd save it on my USB and, I'd send it to my Uncle Joe, who's probably watching this as well. There's an encyclopedia of football.
I was going to say, he's the walking Britannica himself.
Yeah, you will remember from 45 years ago, but then you'll forget something from yesterday.
You'll remember what colour shoelaces people had.
Yeah, so that's how it sort of started. And then I knew by having an event like this, the best thing we can do as a club is treasure our history and make sure we can do the best we can to honour those that have played their part in this great club. And I thought there'd be no better way to do that by presenting an article where I, to the best of my ability, tried to acknowledge all our state representatives, our Australian national players, and our cup and league championships. We're a big club, we're a rich club. Unfortunately, we haven't been to the level we should be, but we've got to remember where we come from. And by acknowledging the culture we've had for the last 70 years, hopefully that can inspire more people to feel like they belong and go to games.
Well done, mate. One thing for sure, Tonci, when he says they're a successful club, I don't know when the last time you were at Jeb's Cross, Tonci, but when you walk in,
it's been a while, yeah.
Smacks you in the face. There's this big cabinet of all the trophies and the memorabilia and everything from way back in the 50s to all through to modern day victories and successes. I'm not talking about throwing in a token, pennant from some little friendly game or something like that, albeit that they are important too. I'm talking seriously big wins, Ampol Cup wins and taking on the Giants in Federation Cup in that Adelaide Croatia won, right, Maxi? Federation Cup, was it?
Yeah, so we even pre-NSL we were playing against Adelaide City Juventus and West Adelaide Hellas, and a few of our trophies were in the 60s when they were probably at their best, when they had Australian national team players playing for them.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that probably doesn't get mentioned enough is we had a president come in 1954, and Branko Filippi. Now, I think he was president of Melbourne Croatia after at one stage. He came in and the club was in the 4th division. So we established in 1952. The club was in the 4th division. This guy came in and he made our club ambitious. The players that we signed worked for him, and we became, like, within 5 years, we're playing 1st division. So 5 years, four championships, and then in 1960 we won an Ampol Cup and a Federation Cup.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Often Branko's name doesn't get the credit it deserves.
Yeah.
Tonci, you've read JD's book. Branko's mentioned in there about he was a pioneer ahead of his time. I reckon if we had him today, we'd make him Prime Minister. Because groundbreaking, bringing in Indigenous people into the club to give them an avenue to feel like they belong somewhere, because Australia didn't want to make them belong, so the Croatians made them belong.
It's a great story of Charlie Perkins, and there was the other guy as well. What was his name?
Moriarty.
John Moriarty, yes, of course, at Adelaide Croatia. That was in the 50s. Yeah, that was in the 60s when they were not well treated as second-class people. They came to the Croatia Soccer Club and they were, they basically said for the first time they actually felt like they fitted in, We didn't care who you were, what you were, as long as you could score goals.
As long as it wasn't.
Yep. But in regards to that, I think they could resonate with our cause as well. Like in that time, a lot of our people fled communism and we faced persecution from Yugoslavia. So I think they could find some sort of similarities in the way we were persecuted. And I think we could see also that these guys persecuted as well, and that's where they belong. That's where they felt like they could belong. And that, in regards to Charlie Perkins, he became coach. So he was a player, captain, and coach.
Yeah.
And he won a Federation Cup and an Ampol Cup for us in his 2 years.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think the only reason why I really stopped pursuing football or soccer seriously was that he ended up becoming a politician, in effect, in Canberra, and that was when taking up a lot of his commitments. So then, soccer became, and I guess couldn't really make a living from soccer back in those days.
Yeah, I think the first thing was he got taken to university and in
something like that,
Oxford or Cambridge, one of the big ones, and he studied law, and then he became a politician.
Yeah. So there you go. Very, very smart man. And speaking of Branko Filippi, I know down in Geelong, he built streets that were called Croatia Place and Adriatic Place, He built suburbs, entire suburbs, St Albans Park, as opposed to St Albans Dinner, but that on the other side of Geelong. And like they're entire little mini suburbs at the time. So Branko Filippi Pokoni was certainly a man, a visionary, as you said, What was the other memorable things that you came across when you were, researching Adelaide Croatia?
Just that in the late 80s, when we were probably at our best in terms of the silverware we won, we had an opportunity to join the NSL through the promotion playoff, and this was during our Hanson reserve days. And after our championship win in 1988, we actually said no to the promotion playoff, and then Hellas took our spot instead. But then fast forward 3-4 years later, our whole ambition for those seasons were to join the NSL and become be like Melbourne Croatia and Sydney Croatia.
Yeah.
And probably a blessing in disguise, we managed to lose the league by 1 point and come fourth the next year, because we wouldn't have had the resources to last in the NSL, even in those days.
Wow. It's
Interesting
I guess
stories.
that wouldn't be common news. In your fact finding mission, and just like that fact, was there one little story, one little snippet that you went, "Wow, this is really, really rare news, or really uncommon that people will need to know about this"? Did you?
In well, this is pretty recent. So nearly in 2013, when Anthony Golets and Tommy Juric were playing for Adelaide United, they actually came to the club and they actually wanted to play for us in the back end of the season and play finals for us because it's in the off season of the A League, and they were all good in regards to playing and all that. But Adelaide United, they didn't let them go because they're still on the contract. So we could have had an Australian national player that's won an Asian Cup and then an established
Yeah.
A-League player, dominate the state leagues for us.
Those darn A-League clubs always get in the
Yep.
way.
Free alone system.
Yeah. All right, Max. In your opinion, how important are the Croatian soccer clubs to their community? I mean, we know they're important, okay. But looking at it from your perspective, in this modern day in 2022, how important is the Adelaide Croatia Raiders to the wider Adelaide Croatian community, and why?
Yeah, to me, the soccer clubs are crucial. We're also on a Saturday or a Friday night, are we going to congregate? There's only so many times you can go to the Croatian Sports Centre for dinner. Only so many events they have out throughout the whole year. Saturday soccer or Friday night soccer is just a place where you can, forget your stresses, forget your worries, and see the same people you've seen for the last, in my case, 20 years. But it's like it's timeless. And I think sometimes we sort of forget that it's not necessarily about, we all want to win championships and we all want to get those results, but we don't want to lose touch with each other. I went to a funeral last year, and then this man who hasn't been involved in the Croatian community for a long time, he goes to me, "Why is it the only time I catch up with these guys at every single funeral?" And I'm thinking to myself, well, these guys always, go to the soccers, they go to all the events, and you know what? That's what this person probably should have been doing. And he would have seen all his mates for all those years. And it's very easy to lose touch. Life goes on. We all have our own stuff going on behind the scenes. But just remembering that the soccer is there for a social aspect. So that would be my answer.
I can vouch for that because I know one Paul Anthony Šarić who comes to the soccer every weekend at North Geelong, and I don't think he ever watches a minute of football because his back's to the game. And he's facing us as he's talking, and then all of a sudden it's full time. Okay, boys, I'll see you next round.
That's a good thing. But it's better that than, being somewhere else or being at home or, not contributing to the community when you definitely can in your own way.
Exactly, yeah.
Speaking of North Geelong, Josip, I kind of disagree with Max. Max said, it's a place where you can come and forget your stresses and forget your troubles. You go to watch North Geelong in the last few weeks, and živce's gubbish, it's stressful. It's stressful.
That's a different stress. You're there together. You're there together to try and console that stress and get it out.
Hopefully your day-to-day stresses and your soccer stresses don't overlap during the games.
No. Thankfully not. My main stresses during the week have got to do with freaking bad internet connections. Oh my God! Tonight we've been besotted by them as well. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Max. And it's one of the unfortunately, it's one of the rare situations where you can get your regular dose of social catch up with like-minded people. People who appreciate your culture, your background, and absolutely agree with you. And it's nothing better than, I think it was early in the year down at St Albans Dynamo when they had the I&D Cup. And it was once upon a time us folks used to congregate around bars and at nightclubs and Croatian discos. now we all congregate watching our little kids play soccer, and it's like catching up on old times, and especially after the last couple of years that we've had, it was just so good to catch up with people, and you continue to do so. So you're absolutely right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Josip, you had a
Look,
question to ask,
speaking of the social life and the football club in general, we've paid close attention to the club itself in terms of performance at that senior level. I had a catch up with Ian probably about 4 weeks ago now leading up to promoting the gala night itself too. From your perspective, as a young man growing up in the community, do you feel like the club's heading in the right direction? Do you feel like the community is still embracing strongly as can be, and that come together moments? Do you feel like it's still there, or do you feel like there's things awry and things amiss that need to be addressed, and maybe some ideas about how we can address that?
I think we're in good hands at the moment. We're in a rebuilding phase, if that makes sense. So unfortunately, last year we got relegated for whatever reason, COVID, injuries, bit of bad luck. And now we've sort of recalculated, replanned how we're going to go about it. And I think the way we would have went about it is, if you get promoted this year, you don't have anything sustainable to keep that same team, right? So if you're getting promoted, you're going to have to change 8 or 9 players from this current side. Yeah. What we're doing is we're developing from within, giving them the best platform to play, giving them the best platform and exposure to play first team. And if they're good enough, they'll take that opportunity. And then next year we'll top up slowly. So within 3 years, the club's aim is to play in the NPL and build sustainable success. There's no point yo-yoing like some other clubs in the state.
If you then reflect upon that back when you were a youngster playing through the junior ranks coming through now, and you look at the junior ranks now, comparing like for like, what kind of difference do you see?
I reckon when I played, it was in the dark ages of the juniors, so we weren't very good at all. So we were in the second and third division, a lot of our junior sides. Now most of our sides are in the first division. Our under 13s won the National Kanga Cup. Maybe a couple months
we saw
ago.
that.
So from a junior perspective, we're looking pretty good compared to when I was playing. It's more about how do we, now that we've got all those state programs, how do we now get them back at our club? And it's very hard to get our best players back at our club when we're in the second division.
Yeah,
because as a player, you want to challenge yourself. You want to play the best level possible. So we have to work around how do we sell ourselves as a club to get those players back, whether it means that we're, fast tracking them slightly, or we have to just concede that, for the next 2-3 years, this is what's going to have to happen.
And we're seeing that with young Luka Blažević going into the Joey squad.
Yep,
being picked up well there. So there's one player, and I think was another one, another Luka. Maybe not. But anyway, look, once you start getting them in the representative squads and Australian teams, one thing leads to another. People see that the club's doing the right things and they're getting their opportunities.
That's it.
Hey, look, don't knock yourself, Maxi, that you played in the dark ages. You played one game for North Geelong.
Tournament 2014.
Who was the super coach back then?
You were the super coach. You just inspired us all.
Yeah. Now Josip, you talk about earlier in the program, you talked about jumping in and helping at tournaments and this and that, even if you're not from the host city, jumping in. And that's another thing, just jumping in at tournaments to help other teams as well, just to do a fill-in and that kind of stuff.
We signed Max properly.
He was out and out transfer, was he? But that is also another good way of catching up or meeting new friends as well, and lifetime friends.
Yeah, one of my good friends, Anthony Bonovats. I'm not sure if he's watching, but I met him through that very tourney. I played for North Geelong.
Yep. Yeah. It was a year where the seniors had to play a relegation fighter.
Yes. Against Avondale.
Against Avondale. And we couldn't put the first team on the park, so we had to play all the 21s and under 18s. We had a couple of holes. Don't worry, Maxi was on the job.
Nice work. There you go. Well, the football career, we reminisce about that as well. Maxi, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Some real interesting stories. We've delved into the history of a truly great Australian Croatian club, the oldest Australian Croatian club. And here's to 70 years, and here's to 70 more, and more, and more, and more, and after that. But, what you do for the club, for the Croatian community in Adelaide is absolutely admirable, and good on you, mate. Well done, and keep doing it.
Thanks, Tonci. Thanks, Josip. Have a great
Maxi.
night.
Good on you, mate.
Good on you. Max Jurkovic, the Jurkovic surname, it's a real dynasty at the Adelaide Croatia club, and his late father has also got the grandstand named after him, Ivi Jurkovic, a fantastic player he was. Mate, that's it. It brings us to the end of our show.
Score update. Gold Coast Knights gets a win, 2-1.
Neka. That's it. Tall. Now, before we go away, just a reminder about those prizes, Josip.
Yes, viewers, one of two questions next week will be based on this weekend's derby between Dinamo and Hajduk. So pay close attention, get up and watch the game if you want to, or watch it on replay later, whichever way you choose. But one of the questions will come about as a result of that match.
Yep. So don't miss that this weekend. Thank you very much, folks, for being a part of tonight's show. Thank you very much to our guest, Max Jurkovic, and also to Pleme App. They are the business advertisers for this week. And if you would like to be a member, or if you'd like to be a sponsor, we are seeking sponsors on the Oz Cro Soccer Show podcast. If you'd like to sponsor an episode, and then your club be featured in our Club in Focus segment, or if you're a business and you'd like to jump on board and advertise on our weekly show, or you just want to become a member of the show, there is a way to become a monthly member of the show and help us achieve what we are trying to do. Look, drop us an email, ozcrosoccershow@gmail.com. That's ozcrosoccershow@gmail.com. We'd really appreciate you getting in touch with us, and that's exactly what Susie Gudelic did with the fantastic those wooden Hajduk and Dinamo chopping boards. Yep, thank you so much for them, mate. We will be back in action next Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. And until then, thank you very much all for joining us on the show this week.
Good
night.
Thank you.